Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
My friends, a few weeks ago, I told you that I believed history was in the making. A total collapse, a rout in confidence that the people have in the ruling establishment of kleptocratic control freak monopoly men. And that is indeed happening right now. In fact, even more accelerated than I said it perhaps could be. Just a few days ago, it was 50-50 if the House of Representatives would vote to authorize the war. I have multiple political breakdowns here. It looks like it's going to be an absolute rout, that Obama won't lose the vote by 20 votes, as they were saying yesterday. It may be 50. It may be 100. Bipartisan coming together against the madness of fighting on the side of al-Qaeda jihadi rebels who are blowing up churches and beheading Christian Orthodox priests. And now finally the mainstream media is showing soldier executions from months ago, going, well, it is soldiers, and oh, it's only one warlord. Instead of showing the churches being blown up, the children being killed, the people being forced to be suicide bombers, they're trying to address it because they've acted like it hasn't been going on, and they know the alternative media and the real press has been covering it. And you have got all these Democrats coming out now saying we shouldn't be on the side of al-Qaeda. Not just Republicans. You've got Lloyd Doggett in Texas, literally an Obama minion coming out against it. You've got Pelosi saying she doesn't know if there's the votes in the House. This is a big deal. Now, Obama says he's going to go ahead with it anyways. Now, you notice they said this Saturday, in fact, we need to put a compilation of these lies together. Last year, in August, saying red line, any chemical use. Now, yesterday, saying he never said that. Last Saturday, saying there will never be any boots on the ground. Tailored, specific, surgical. Now it's, of course, we got to have boots on the ground. Unbelievable. And there is now just a rout of this president. But here is the $64 trillion question. Will they allow the complete implosion of Obama and the globalist agenda? Because this big a loss of confidence in the establishment is going to affect Republican establishment as well. The Republican blue bloods have circled the wagons disgustingly around Obama, but you've also got even people like Mitch McConnell saying he doesn't know if he'll support it, who is definitely an insider. So this is unbelievable. This is beyond Nixonian collapse. And I'm telling you right now, we better be wargaming this collectively on the radio together. Listeners, other pundits, other smart people out there. I'd like to see what Drudge, who always seems to have the finger out on the pulse, what does Drudge think they're going to pull? Via his Twitter, maybe he'll tell us. I need to come to a understanding myself. I've got a lot of ideas and put it out on my Twitter at Real Alex Jones and do articles about it and, you know, move one step ahead of, okay, total collapse in confidence for these criminals. That's a really positive thing. Little man behind the curtain, Toto pulls the curtain back. That's now happened. Now, they're standing there butt naked with their hand in the cookie jar, pants down around their ankles, caught doing the deed. The question is, what are they going to do now? Because it's not like you just pull the curtain back and, you know, there's Jeffrey Dahmer, Barack Obama, New World Order, you know, John McCain, these sicko, lying, freak, corrupt bastards. Now the curtain has literally fallen. I mean, this morning I was jogging and I had to actually stop and actually sit down because it was hitting me that history is happening and I'm not even responding to it correctly. I mean, this is the time that tries men's souls. This is the best of times. This is the worst of times. We'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just a lot of trouble dealing with the level of lying I'm seeing, where Obama said on Saturday that there would be no boots on the ground when there's already boots on the ground for 2.5 years, Western commandos and contractors lasing targets and basically giving insight and tutelage to the al-Qaeda forces that have started the war with Syria. And then they have the nerve to call the rebels activists and protesters. The activists and protesters blew up some more churches yesterday and shelled Christian villages and chopped off more Christians' heads. What is it? Over 2 million people fled Syria already the last year. That's AP's numbers. Mainly Christians and Muslim minorities, knowing that the jihadis are going to chop their heads off. And then we get to have Obama up there saying, we will share in the moral responsibility for anyone who's hurt in this crisis when they're the ones that started it. And then the Secretary of State, Kerry, Rubberface, or whatever you want to call him, Frankenstein, he gets up there and says, well, he said, quote, anyone against this intervention will be responsible for further atrocities, when they are the authors of the entire thing that's happened over there, the disaster. Now you heard Obama on Saturday. We played the clip on Monday. I shot a video about it on Saturday where he said there will be no boots on the ground. This will be limited and surgical. Now they're saying, oh, well, the resolution's unlimited. We can attack anybody in the world we want. We need 75,000 troops on the ground. The Pentagon comes out and says, we were told to have 75,000 troops ready. What do you think they have amphibious Marine Corps groups off the coast for? They have amphibious delivery ships, the big ships that disgorge the amphibious landing craft. The propeller-driven, the hovercraft, all of it, the attack helicopters, the tanks, the armored vehicles, they're all waiting with now 6 missile cruisers and aircraft carriers arriving, all there. Of course they plan to invade the place. You hear Kerry go, well, if the country implodes, then we don't want that to happen, of course. We're only trying as hard as we can. But if it implodes, because the plan is to break it in 3 parts at least. Well, 2 they'll take, but three's their goal. And the Council on Foreign Relations puts out the battle plan. Wesley Clark's talked about it repeatedly. This is all on record for over a decade, the plan for Syria. And when they sit there acting like, oh, jeepers, creepers, Jiminy Crickets, Alice, we are really concerned about the children and the nerve gas. And we reported on this back in March. We reported on it yesterday. It's now McClatchy News. Today, Russia says it's compiled a 100-page report blaming Syrian rebels for chemical weapons attack. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're dealing with. This article right here from McClatchy. Russia says it has compiled a 100-page report blaming Syrian rebels for chemical weapons attack. Russia says it has compiled a 100-page report detailing what it says is evidence that Syrian rebels, not forces loyal to President Bashar Assad, were behind a deadly sarin gas in the suburb of Aleppo earlier this year. Yeah, that's the big one we've been reporting on. In a statement posted on the Russian Foreign Ministry website Wednesday, yes, we covered it yesterday, Russia said the report had been delivered to the United States in July. Yes, we covered it then as well, and includes detailed scientific analysis of samples that Russian technicians collected at the site of the alleged attack. Well, folks, the Turks caught them last year and this year with nerve gas sneaking back and forth across the border, the al-Qaeda forces. So there's that. Russia warns of nuclear disaster in Syria if it is attacked, and admit what the Israelis have said for a long time: Russian designed and built mini research reactors. At least one. There are a lot of these research reactors, folks. They've got 2 in Austin, Texas. Just to give you, we're supposedly not on the map of nuclear sites. We have 2 of the things, one at the Pickle Center and one under the UT Tower. By the way, that's leaking, according to my information. Whatever, it's good for you, Ann Coulter said. If a warhead by design or by chance were to hit the miniature neutron source reactor near Damascus, the consequences could be catastrophic. Russian Foreign Minister spokesman Alexander Lukashev stated, according to Russia Today. So there you go. That's CBS News reporting on that. Brutality of Syrian rebels posing dilemma in the West, the New York Times says. And they're finally showing videos that we have up on Infowars.com of soldiers being shot, soldiers being beheaded. But that's nothing, folks. They're throwing kids off roofs, beheading Christian priest. It just goes on and on. By the way, I tweeted last night at Real Alex Jones a Breitbart story where they were shelling from a monastery, a Christian village, and burning it to the ground. And there's videos and photos of this. And I saw on Twitter Obama supporters. I followed back to their Twitter sites last night. They were all big Democrats. And they said, aha, Breitbart, you mean BS. You right-wingers, you're scum. You know, you can go read the tweet, telling me that I'm a big liar and stuff. But I'm just a liberty lover. As I've always said, it's not about left and right. It's about right and wrong. It's about freedom versus tyranny. It's about libertarian versus authoritarian. And I go to these Democrats' Twitter sites, and they're on my site saying I'm wrong, nobody's killing Christians. You people are just scum. All because it's Obama, like these Democratic Congress people that are saying they're going to vote for the war in loyalty to Obama. That's like you're going to, line people up and shoot them in concentration camps in loyalty to Hitler. And then they made fun of me on there. And again, I don't mind being made fun of. You don't freak me out the way you think you do. Calling me a redneck, calling me a racist, all this stuff like they're doing on my Twitter feed. It freaks me out that you're so bad and you're so dumbed down and you're so unreachable. That you're so lost that you'll do anything for Obama. As we pointed out in Austin, Texas, and in Los Angeles with our man on the street interviews, 9 out of 10 Austinites in trendy areas, if you say, we're going to take all the guns and put gun owners in FEMA camps, 9 out of 10 sign it. If you say, we're going to kill babies up to age 3 for Obama, people sign it. If you say, we're going to set up checkpoints and we're going to search everybody's homes without warrants for Obama, 9 out of 10 sign it. We're going to ban water for the environment, Obama said, they sign it. And they just sit there calling me racist because I'm against murdering a bunch of innocent Syrians. I don't even, but I understand it. You're unintellectual, dumbed down buffoons, and that's your intellectual response, is to call me a redneck, call me a racist, call me stupid, say I'm full of baloney, because you intellectually can't come to grips with what's going on. And you know what? You are getting to me, but not in the way you think. I'm really sad that you're so pathetic, and I'm really worried about this country and our whole future. Now, let me give you the good news before I get back into the incredible Syria developments. This is a total collapse of the establishment. The bad news is they're going to try to strike back, and I want to open the phones up today and get your take on if you agree with me on that, and what do you think that staged event will be. They're going to try to change the subject now, because they tried to change the subject from the 7 scandals with this new Syria thing, but that didn't work. So they're going to try to change the subject, and it's going to have to be big, because there's a total sea change, a turning of the lake, a flipping here, a flashpoint. I mean, you're living it. You're living history right now. And by the way, I was the first to say it 2 weeks ago, not bragging. I can feel it in my gut and see it politically. But in my gut, it's just unbelievable, okay? Now you see everybody else saying it, because it's happening, okay? It's happening right now. But let me tell you something. I think I'm going to start staying up here about 17 hours a day, actually, until this is all played out, because this is like war room stuff. I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to pull something very, very soon, guaranteed. And it may be a new big chemical attack or something. It may be they'll have rebel forces fire missiles out of Syria into Israel with medium range. Did anybody ever think about that? I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on right now, and believe me, they've got a bunch of plans laid out, at the White House and at the National Security Council right now, and the heavy hitters are deciding which button to push. They're going to push one of the buttons unless we get the word out about false flag like our lives depend on it. But here's the deal. I don't think this new staged event is going to work either. But they may not care. They may just move ahead and use the emergency alert system to take over the media, to shut down talk radio. They may start staging domestic stuff. They may blow stuff up and say the Patriot movement. They may try to assassinate Obama in some staged event with some patsy. I mean, let me tell you, I can literally tell you what's going on in the White House historically by studying the criminology of these people. They are in meetings right now while Obama is at the G20 in St. Petersburg. The heads of the National Security Council are in there right now with their psych warfare chiefs, and they've got probably 20 different plans on the table looking at which ones they're going to play. They've got the cards in their hand, and they're looking at what they're going to play because their whole house of cards is coming down. Let me tell you why. It's now safe to talk about the NSA, the New World Order, the secret arrest, the torture, the checkpoints. Everybody's starting to speak out, so it makes it safe for everybody. The NRA suing the NSA for creating a secret gun registry. Folks, it's on. It's on.
Don't throw away leftover.
All right, let me try to break this down clearly. I know most of you understand this probably better than I do. But historically, tyrannies look invincible, and they tell everybody, oh, there's no depression, oh, this isn't a war, oh, our dear leader is infallible, oh, no one will ever defeat them, the elite is invincible, until finally people underground criticize the system, point out its lies, point out its fraud. You've always got maybe 30, 40% of the population that'll go with the establishment view because they are so dumbed down and cowardly and don't respect themselves, so they feel powerful when they go with the establishment. But finally, when they see the mass of the public wake up, they will then join with the public as well. And so suddenly you will have the vast majority of people turning against the system and believing nothing it says. And generally, historically, propagandists that run the systems, if you study Joseph Goebbels and others, they will actually intensify the lying. So I never said there was a red line, even though he gave a press conference saying, America and I have set specific red lines that we've told everybody in the region and our allies. This is it. It's in stone. You cross it. It's on. 1 year later, I never said that. How dare you say I said that? 5 days ago, Saturday, we will never have boots on the ground. You have my firm pledge. 4 days later, yesterday, of course we need boots on the ground. 75,000 troops. It's now coming out that Obamacare is not going to just double, but in many states triple your premium. There is no free health care. There was free health care under charity before. It's all gone. It's going to be gone now. The free health care will now be gone. You will now not get the surgery. You'll get a cane for your knee. You will not get eye surgery. You'll get a cane again. It's all on record. You're going to lose everything. Written by foreign banks. Everything. New story out, up on Infowars.com. It's up on DrudgeReport.com, The Examiner out of Washington. Warning, D.C. cops under orders to arrest tourists with empty bullet casings. You know, people wear empty bullet casings around their necks or they have them on their keychain or whatever. You're going to jail, and the police have been ordered. You be on the lookout for tourists that don't know. We want to fill our jails with the scum Americans. Let me tell you, when you're in D.C., the cops go out of their way, and I videotaped this and put the videos out there on YouTube. They'll see a little kid with a camera. They'll walk over and say, you know you're not allowed to have that? Start screaming at the parents because they've been given orders. You let the public know they're scum. It came out in the Washington Times about 6 years ago that people that park their cars legally, police in tow trucks that off-duty own the tow truck companies, they're just mafia, they pull up in uniform and were taking cars, in one case, when the news caught them, at McDonald's, legally parked, going in to eat the GMO stuff, and you come out, and the cops, and the person said, what are you doing? And the cops get out and put a gun to your head. They're nothing but bandits, folks. And they're going to rule this country. It's theirs now. They're going to take your pensions. They're going to pull your wife over and take the money out of her purse. They're going to take it all. In Chicago, in New York, in D.C., in L.A., everywhere the New World Order is in control, they're going to take. There's a new video out of a cameraman on a street corner, and the cop walks up, it's on Infowars.com, and says, I'm going to smash your teeth in with that camera. And you know what all over the country they do? They show you who you are, just like they're going to show everybody that they run Al-Qaeda, and they run the chemical attacks, and they run the whole thing right now. They're going to show you. Of course, the truth is everybody's just waking up, and we're going to show the New World Order. You thugs thought Americans were cowards. Let me give you a little real insight on the American people. The American people haven't been cowards. They've been too busy working, paying the private Federal Reserve via the IRS. They've been too busy drugged up on all the GMO and the fluoride in the water. They haven't been afraid of all your intimidation. They've been too busy or too lazy. But now you're going to shove people around a little too much, aren't you? But, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, is people are waking up and saying, no, look at this right here. But when you go into D.C., folks, you're there to be preyed upon by a criminal kleptocracy. You understand that? And they'd have the whole country like D.C. if they could. A bunch of criminals paid for by taxpayer money with armed guards in armored fortresses with a disarmed slave population. Remember the famous video came out last year? A family asked the police politely for directions, tourist, and the cop goes, pull over, I'm going to arrest you for asking me directions. I mean, it's not like New York where they say, am I a phone book, and yell at you. They go, you know what? I'm going to take your whole family to jail, and CPS is going to take your kids. But, sir, I just asked directions politely. You pull over, scum, right now. Oh, we're getting a little bit of a confession here from John Kerry coming in. No, actually, that's Dave Mustaine. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Here's some of the headlines up on Infowars.com. Report, China sends warships to coast of Syria. Russia warns of nuke disaster if Syria attacked. Atrocities committed by Syrian protesters, as CNN calls them. Chopping people's heads off is protesting. Is this what we fight for? We've got a movie star coming out, Miss Milano, doing a fake sex tape pushing the Syrian war. Man, those fake liberals in Hollywood are the scum of the planet. Continuing the Syrian war, what you're not being told by Zero Hedge. Pentagon knew in 2012 it would take 75,000 ground troops to secure Syria's chemical weapons facilities, bare minimum. John Kerry steals Wolfowitz's lines for Syria war. 2 members of Congress join 14 others in saying that we need to impeach Obama, and 2 other members join them in saying that we don't want to be Al-Qaeda's Air Force. So that line is definitely getting picked up. And some of the news up on drudgereport.com. Russia claims 100-page report blaming Syrian rebels for chemical weapons attack. I mentioned that. It's out of McClatchy. I'm not tooting our horn. Back in March, the Russians put out a smaller report that this is based on. It was sent to the United States in July. We covered it again. We covered this again yesterday. Now it's national news with McClatchy mirroring our report. By the way, I noticed trolls in our article saying we were liars yesterday. We're not lying about any of this. People want to sit there and claim we're making stuff up. By the way, I was thinking this morning, I didn't really get scared, but I realized how much danger I'm probably in, so we need your prayers. That we broke 2 days ago now on Tuesday evening. It's now Thursday morning, or Thursday afternoon in some time zones. Our source at the Air Force Base in West Texas, that a bunch of nuclear warheads that weren't supposed to even be on the base under treaty since the mid-'80s were loaded on trucks and driven out, and they asked the truck driver, where's this going? Because everybody was so freaked out, and they said, South Carolina. And, I mean, that's a real source known by us that was in charge of something. I'll just leave it at that, okay? I mean, I'm sure the government's got everything tapped. We were told this over the phone and by text, so the government even knows who it is. And the whole point is, they had the whole Minot, North Dakota deal where the cruise missiles came up missing. They had a whole congressional investigation, and a bunch of people on the base got killed who were witnesses that saw it. And, I mean, our source is not lying. And they were told they were nuclear weapons. I mean, and I started saying to myself, well, let's just say they were different warheads. Maybe they were mistaken. You know, I don't want to believe this myself. I don't want to be the one breaking this. And that's why I was jogging down the hike and bike trail this morning. I had to just sit down for a minute and just think. I was like, man, I don't like being in this position. And I don't mean to sit here and talk about myself in the show. It's just that this is fantastical. That our government's hijacked by ruthless, crazy banks. They run Al-Qaeda. They're shelling Christian villages as we speak. The leftists are attacking me, saying I'm racist because I'm covering it, and calling me redneck, which is really racist. You've got Obama running around saying he never said there were red lines, saying there'll be no boots on the ground, when Kerry says, yeah, they need authorization because that may be needed if Syria implodes when they're trying to implode it. The NSA spying on everyone. I told you years ago, the NSA spying on gun owners, creating databases. Now the NRA has evidence and is suing over it, according to the Hill newspaper. NRA joins ACLU lawsuit, claims NSA starting gun registry. Well, of course they have a gun registry. And of course they spy on everybody. And of course the DEA is in the NSA when you're on the phone talking about marijuana. Of course it's all illegal. Of course they don't get warrants. They are a criminal group, ladies and gentlemen. And then we have the spectacle of Barack Obama in Sweden yesterday before he got on the plane and flew into St. Petersburg in Russia for the G20 summit. And a reporter who obviously is starstruck and really thinks this is a liberal god. They're so liberal in Sweden, and they mean well. They would put their kids, you know, in a garbage disposal. They were told to do it and told it was liberal. She's like, what about the dilemma? You have spoken for peace and in the war. How do you do it? Oh, no, and you've got Obama up there on the podium. I mean, Obama is a front man reading off a teleprompter, meant to sell the idea that he's a Peace Prize winner, given a Peace Prize when he never had done anything for peace, ever. And now they have orchestrated the Arab Spring to put radicals in every secular country and wreck them so they can slaughter Christians and Muslim minorities. I mean, they're really doing it. That's what they want to do. That's who these control freaks are, folks. They want to ban Christianity. Germany's banned homeschooling since World War II under Hitler and arrest people and takes their kids and drugs them. And when you flee to America and try to get political asylum, Eric Holder puts you on a plane back to Berlin to be arrested. These people are evil. I mean, we're not just saying that. They're bad. They hate you. They hate private property not in their hands. They hate the fact you're armed and don't live in a crime syndicate like they do where you're fed on. And the criminals then rob your house and pay loot to the police who then fence the money up. I mean, Bloomberg and all these people, the evidence is overwhelming, folks. They're all part of it. They're criminals. They don't want you being armed. They don't want low crime rates. They live in armored compounds with 15 bodyguards. They enjoy you living in fear. They enjoy women being raped every night, walking back from work in New York and can't protect themselves. They love it, and they're going to keep doing it. They are criminals. Criminals are criminals because they have criminal mindsets. They are master criminals filled with criminal energy. And it's going to take liberty energy and true warrior energy who values honor and who values goodness. We have to smash these cockroaches. And to do that, first, you've got to stand up and say, I don't care what you do to me, you maggots. I know you're the scum of the earth, and I'm coming after you with the pen, which is mightier than the sword, and we are going to lay waste to you frauds. So do whatever you're going to do. We're committing. And it's a good feeling to be driving this train. You're driving your train out there as well of resistance, and just to slam down the lever and just say, I'm going full speed ahead into the enemy, and just sit there hopping around in the carriage of that thing with bloodshot eyes staring out the front visor. I mean, that's what life's all about, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to ram these people down. We're going to run over them. Now, if people are freaked out by this, folks, you're freaked out by the spirit of liberty. Paul Revere and others wrote all up and down the colony saying, get your firearms and get ready to kill people. That's what to arms, the redcoats are coming means. Get your guns, get ready to kill. People are like, oh, what a great patriot. I get up there with Piers Morgan and say, you're on notice, boy. We're done. You want to enslave us? Don't say you care about the kids. This is about enslaving us under the UN treaties. And if you try to take our guns, 1776 will commence again, because that's what's going to happen. You think you're going to have some civil war and paint us as terrorists and you're just going to walk all over us, buddy? I'm calling you out and I'm marking you as an enemy if all this stuff goes down. You think you people are just going to pull some type of commie red terror takeover and we're just going to sit here and take it? You think you're going to run Al-Qaeda and murder Christians worldwide and we're going to sit there and not speak out against it? You think we're just going to stand down? You think that we're just going to go along with all of this? If you think that, you've got another thing coming. And people say, man, this guy gets crazed. I am crazed. I know we're fighting tyrants. I know they're killers. We're breaking news about missing nuclear weapons, folks. You think this is fun? This is not a game. And people need to get that through their heads. But I have chosen not to be a coward. I have chosen to not crouch down and lick the hands that feed us. I don't want to be fed by the New World Order. The war has already begun. The globalists are exterminating innocent people from Africa to Latin America for UN carbon sinks, taking over their property to give it to big agribusiness. They are involved in forced sterilization, extermination programs worldwide. Of course they lie to you. Of course they put poison in your water. You've always been the globalist enemies, America. And the reason Americans haven't woken up sooner is they've been chemically lobotomizing us. We've been under chemical warfare. And so now I ask all the listeners out there this question. They're going to stage something. Will it be a fake assassination attempt on Obama? Will it be another big nerve gas attack they stage? Will it be launching medium-range missiles out of Syria at Israel saying that Assad did it? Will it be setting off an atomic bomb in a major U.S. city, a low-yield weapon, so they can bring in the whole martial law grid? Will it be going ahead and just invading and using that crisis as a political distraction? Will it be a mass shooting blamed on a militia group working with jihadists? I mean, we can see that script being pushed. We know what they're going to do. We know they're different avenues, they're different battle plans, because they war game those and they push those narratives out there so the public has already been acclimatized to it, so you'll buy the story when it happens. A self-fulfilling prophecy, a revelation of the method, an externalization of the hierarchy. A subconscious Stockholm syndrome stimuli to scare your subconscious that knows they're the ones behind it. When they get up there and tell these lies that are so obvious and admit the NSA spying on you and all this, they want to scare everybody so that everybody goes, oh my gosh, they are the terrorists. Oh my gosh, they do run Al-Qaeda. Oh my gosh, they are. Oh, we better shut up. We better keep our heads down. They might come get us. They're going to get everybody if we don't stand up against us. Okay? They're going to get everybody if we don't stand up against the New World Order. And we, the people, have to come together against this. The globalists are fundamentally against us. They're already putting sodium fluoride in the water. They're already putting the GMOs by design into the foods, the hidden viruses that have been identified, all the rest of it, just makes me sick. I mean, we are living in an absolute science fiction movie. And they are waging war on us, a tiny kleptocratic group that think they're playing God, that see the general public as a scourge that has infested the earth. And they are waging war on us. And so many yuppies out there think that there are too many people, so like you're part of the establishment because you tacitly buy into this whole thing and feel like you're a member of the establishment. That is not how this works. You have already been targeted. Many people out there listening to me are going to end up getting diagnosed with terminal cancer in the near future. Your neighbors, your friends, your family are, because we're under attack. They've already gotten a lot of us. They've already assaulted us over and over again through the water, through the food. That's what these cowards do. They don't stand up and fight us. They do it incrementally. They do it in the dark. They creep around. And they want to just tell us be calm and go back to sleep or be a member of the establishment, play ball. There's no playing ball with these exterminists. It's us or them. Let's go to this clip I was mentioning of Obama yesterday being asked by a reporter in Europe about his Peace Prize, which is such a sick joke now, which they knew full well what Obama was planning. It was just a continuation of the globalist takeover program, and that's part of the sick joke. War is peace. That's what this is. Let's go to the clip.
Mr. President, you've given very eloquent talks about the moral force of nonviolence. I was wondering, could you describe the dilemma to be a Nobel Peace Prize winner and getting ready to attack Syria? And also, in what way did the talk that I had today with Prime Minister Reinfeldt move the world a step closer to resolving the climate crisis?
I would refer you to the speech that I gave when I received the Nobel Prize. And I think I started the speech by saying that compared to previous recipients, I was certainly unworthy. But what I also described was the challenge that all of us face when we believe in peace, but we confront a world that is full of violence and occasional evil.
War is peace. That's enough of him.
Becomes, what are our responsibilities?
Now remember, they think you're so dumb that they don't think that you know that they started the war with Syria, injecting rebels in they call activists. I saw CNN again yesterday call them protesters and activists with tanks and rocket launchers and anti-aircraft missiles. Okay, so I want to open the phones up now, and in the next hour we'll go to your phone calls. Do you think I'm right? This is a collapse in confidence in them? I mean, I know I'm right, but what's your take on that and how big this is, A? B, what do you think the false flag's going to be? Because there's no way, you can see it in their body language, you can see it. They're freaked out. They know the world sees exactly who they are. But they're still in control of the banking system. They're in control of the private Federal Reserve. They're in control of the infrastructure. They've got their media takeover systems in place. They've got paramilitary troops trained in every city to take on the American people. I mean, they are the global occupiers. They are the foreign banker takeover armies who wear our flag on their shoulder. They are the infiltrator. They are the enemy. They are the, Terminators. Might as well be space aliens or robots that look like us. Who come into our warren at night like in the first Terminator and open fire on us with a plasma ray. I mean, that's who they are. And that's how they see us. They're here to kill us. They're here to enslave us. They're here to wreck us. They're here to break up our families. That's not just rhetoric. These people are the plague. So right now, the foreign megabanks, the globalist crime syndicate, is planning the next false flag. Will it be another chemical attack? Will it be a nuke going off? Will it be firing missiles out of Syria? They control about half the country into Israel, blaming it on Assad. Will they machine gun people at the opening games of the NFL next week. I mean, there's a lot of stuff they could do. And I'll guarantee you they've got their teams in place. They've got their patsies in place who they're going to set up. They'll run it during a drill. They'll set up people who are in the drill, probably kill them in apprehending them, kill any cops that ask questions, claim the terrorists killed the cops, just like Boston. I've seen them run these programs over and over again so we can learn to love our Obama and do whatever the globalists say. They're in charge because they think we're animals. The globalists are in charge because they sit there and manipulate us. And you know what? We act like dumb animals. Well, guess what? We're not dumb animals, and we're waking up to what's going on, and we're upset about it. And we see the piles of steaming degeneracy that are the senators and others supporting war, and we know who they are. And now they've gone from not having the votes in the House to, they might lose by 100 votes now, it's being reported. So then Obama says he'll go ahead with it. See, tyranny is like a juggernaut that has momentum. But once it goes into mud, and if it ever stops, folks, it ain't getting out. The New World Order has never stopped in the last 100 years or so. And always, if they start to stop, they'll stage something even bigger to get them out of it. So let me tell you, we're not winning this thing. We're in the fight, but we are winning the awakening. So I'd say your prayers today. And I'd call your friends and family and warn them about what's happening. I'd call everybody you know and tell them to tune into this show, whether it's on local AM and FM affiliates, whether it's on shortwave WWCR, whether you send people the link to Infowars.com, Prisonplanet.com, and the listen page at Infowars.com/show with all the free podcasts and video feeds and iPhone and Droid apps. I mean, people are ready to wake up right now. They've already woken up to a certain extent. Let's wake them up all the way. Let's take them all the way. Let's go all the way right now, ladies and gentlemen, before the next big event gets staged. And the globalists, they may not stage something. I'm about 80%, 90% they're going to stage something. They may be smart enough to understand they may just need to back off. Because I think if they stage something, it's going to blow up in their face even bigger. Now, that may mean they win for a while, but down the road, another 10 or 20 moves, it's the end. This is our gambit against them, ladies and gentlemen, our sacrifice. I'm ready to be a gambit. To win the game, folks, you've got to be a gambit. You know what a gambit is? It's a sacrifice of a pawn or a lesser piece to win the overall war. 9/11 was a gambit by the globalists. Kill some of us to get us all to give up our rights, to have a fundamental transformation of the society. But people are now wise to all that. And they're going to get more and more wise as the days, weeks, and months progress. Because the human survival instinct will end up prevailing, ladies and gentlemen. God put it in us, and it's going to defeat the globalists. I want to tell you about some of the sponsors that make the show possible. Very well-known, super high-quality product. It's what the professionals use, and you can get it for your car, your truck, or even industrial needs. PRIproducts.com. For fuel storage or fuel additives, an incredible line of products. Engine power will increase, will gain better performance. Your fuel will last longer. Your fuel gain. 3-year shelf life, fuel system, engine deposits will be prevented, better gas mileage, PRIproducts.com, PRIproducts.com, and their patriots, PRIproducts.com. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, InfoWarsStore.com to get American Drug War 2. To get other films that we're the exclusive distributors of, like State of Mind, to get the incredible quality Pro Pure gravity-fed filters, 10% off, promo code WATER, the lowest prices, the best. Quit drinking the globalist poison and support the broadcast. InfoWarsStore.com to get the Pro Pure. Well, folks, you heard me in the last hour. I'm going to open the phones up here to continue to chronicle the latest developments, situation with Syria, and what it's diverting us from the 7 big scandals here. Remember those? The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231, and we will get you up and on the air, ladies and gentlemen. And if you go up to Infowars.com, we have a video put out by Paul Watson. In fact, we probably need to play this. You guys probably already downloaded his report. They're now having Hollywood people put out fake sex tapes to promote attacks on Syria. PR stunt regurgitates Obama's red line propaganda. These people are war criminals, ladies and gentlemen, trying to use sex to sell, turning that country over to al-Qaeda so al-Qaeda can sexually mutilate the women, put burqas on their heads, and pull them out of college. It's so sick. You know what I call them? The horrors of war, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's going on here. So we'll get into that as well. Meanwhile, while this is happening, what we told you months ago is now mainstream news. London Guardian, Fukushima radiation leak reaches deadly new high. It was 18 times higher than what they'd first said last week. Now they're saying that may be incorrect. It may be hundreds of times worse. Just plutonium, uranium, by the thousands of gallons an hour pouring right into the Pacific Ocean. And the federal government is on record going back a year ago, and Fukushima happened 2 years ago, ordering the regular radiation test of spot test of fish, yellowfin tuna, bluefin tuna to be halted. Because after all, there's a new policy. Deadly dust at the 9/11 collapse isn't bad for you. DU isn't bad for the troops. And all the different radioactive isotopes are good for you. Well, yeah, good for killing you. And at these dosages, you know, you die 5-10 years from now. And they don't know why you got cancer. They don't know why the cancer goes up. It's just kind of like, hey, get ready to take a dirt nap early. You're not going to see those grandkids. You're 40 years old. You know, you got a couple kids. Your grandkids won't ever even make it to have kids. How do you like dying? Little gift from the New World Order. How about we give General Electric that built those faulty reactors, and they built them right on a fault line and a tsunami line, like the worst place on earth. They did an actuary right after it said, this is probably the worst place you could build it in the world, except maybe right by a volcano in Hawaii or something. I mean, how about we give peace prizes to them? How about we give all of them peace prizes, you know? Because it does bring peace to the earth. And they'll probably end up blowing up the major continents of the planet, killing most of the life on Earth. Hell, give them an environmental World Wildlife Fund award for that. Because, you know, after all, they told us they're the ones that care about the earth. They're the ones that care about the children. The children. I mean, Obama is doing the Syria attack for the children. And he never said there was a red line, even though we have him on tape saying it. And he said there wouldn't be any boots on the ground. And 4 days later, they said, well, we do need boots on the ground. But he never said that either. And you just need to get to the realization of don't be an extremist like me, folks. Don't be upset about any of this going on. Get yourself North Pacific tuna. So what if many of the seals are dying and people's hair is falling out in Alaska, where some of the most intense currents come from right off the coast of Fukushima? So what if the radiation levels are very high? I mean, so what? I mean, don't be an extremist. Learn how to prance around like a trendy. Wear different color socks, have a beard, have a pot belly. You'll have a hot chick with you if they see that. Oh my God, he's a trendy. Got a big beard, hot belly, different colored socks, tattoos all over him. I mean, nothing against that. I just, you know the secret? Being a trendy protects you from radiation. That's what it is. All right, we're going to your phone calls here in a moment. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. I want to hear from listeners about their take on what I've said, that this is a total collapse in the establishment's credibility, one of the greatest diplomatic meltdowns for the New World Order ever, and that now no one believes what they're basically saying. And just 2 or 3 days ago, they were 20 votes short in the House to get a war resolution that's passed out of the Senate committee going to the full Senate. Rand Paul saying he's going to filibuster. God bless him. Isn't it good to have a few patriots up there? We've got now some estimates are 100 votes short in the House. So Obama says, well, I'll just go ahead without congressional approval. But at least we force them to talk about the Constitution and congressional approval. And if this war criminal is going to do it, he's going to do it on his own. And you've got thousands of military going public saying they will not serve over there as the Air Force for al-Qaeda, as the ground troops for al-Qaeda. And the Russians have released a full report to the world that they released back in July, but an expanded report from the March chemical weapons attack there in Syria that was documented to be the rebels, and there's video of the rebels, in that case as well, bragging they launched the chemical attack. Then an AP reporter, not the AP, a reporter that reports for the AP, separately published an article that went worldwide last week that they talked to all these people over there who said, yeah, no, we launched the chemical attack. Well, of course they did. But listen, Russia says it's compiled a 100-page report blaming Syria rebels for a chemical weapons attack, going back to the March attack. So they say that makes them the main suspects this time. That is out of McClatchy. Continuing, Russia warns of nuclear disaster if Syria is attacked, saying there is a small experimental nuclear reactor, a neutron source reactor, or MSNR. Same thing they've got at the University of Texas in Austin, outside Damascus that the rebels have been trying to take over. And we have Fox News reporting finally what we've been talking about for 2.5 years on a daily basis. Rebels took a hilltop monastery, put everybody to the sword reportedly, and began shelling, AP's reporting, began shelling the Christian town. Well, what are they going to get an ACLU award for that? Al-Qaeda-linked Syrian rebels fight army near Christian village, and the army has apologized. The Al-Qaeda forces are too well trained by the U.S. and NATO, and they're beating the army there right now. So they're gonna be able to slaughter all the Christians. So big victory for Obama. Give him another Peace Prize for that one. And there's videos of the Syrian soldiers they're capturing. Should we play this? Because we have a family viewing audience of them chopping their heads off. Because, you know, they have some news footage where it doesn't show them being chopped off. They have others where it shows them chopping them off, then throwing them off roofs. You know, what the media is showing is them preparing to chop their heads off. There's a whole bunch of these videos. But you know what? You can go find them if you want to look at them. The point is, now the AP, now Fox News, now it's all being reported on. And here's the New York Times on that subject. Brutality of Syrian rebels posing dilemma for the West. Well, I mean, just give the rebels a peace prize and it makes it okay. New York Times reports, Kerry portrait of Syrian rebels at odds with intelligence reports. When Kerry said in his testimony on the last 2 days to the Senate and the House yesterday, Senate on Tuesday, he said there's no al-Qaeda connections. No. There's nothing going on here. Continuing, and by the way, that's Reuters now saying Kerry's not telling the truth. Continuing, opposition to Syria war goes all the way to the Pentagon. Now there's more and more people in the Pentagon going public saying they don't support it. And General Dempsey, the chairman of Joint Chiefs, said months ago it's a bad idea. But, you know, so what? Obama in his speech said Dempsey said it was a good idea. He said the chairman, meaning the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, says this is doable and is a right thing to do. Of course, Dempsey did never say that, but so what? Hey, if you're going to tell one lie, why not tell 1,000? My wife had a bag of potato chips last night, and after dinner we got into them, watching Pawn Stars with the kids. They like that show. We like it. We watch it occasionally. And you know, we ate one chip, we ate 2 chips, and we ate the whole bag. Then we went and ate the gluten-free Oreo knockoff, the organic Oreo knockoff. We ate almost the whole container. And that's kind of like Obama and the globalist. I mean, if you're going to put fluoride in the water to dumb down those pesky Americans that love freedom and lower their IQ, why not just give them GMO? And then that doesn't work. Well, we're going to just dumb them down more with spray aluminum on them. You know, have that added to the jet fuel. That'll dumb them down. And, you know, the whole public basically has slow motion Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease. Gut diseases exploding. I just want to remind you the plagues we're under, living under the New World Order eugenicist. Control freaks playing God. Okay, coming up at the bottom of the hour after I take some of these calls, Milano, the lady made famous when Jesse Ventura said he wanted to be reincarnated as her bicycle seat. I think she ought to be sent over there to live with al-Qaeda and see how they treat her. Because, I mean, to tell you, al-Qaeda is a bunch of crazy, nutcase jihadis that like to rape, kill, murder, chop heads off. Alyssa Milano. How about, honey cakes, you go over there, and how about you go over there while they're shelling the Christian villages? 2 million people have fled, the Christians and other minorities are leaving the oldest Christian community in the world next to Israel. This is an ethnic cleansing in a war started by the Obama scumbag New World Order. And you get this shallow war whore. That's what she is. She's a whore. Alyssa Milano is a media. Alyssa Milano is a media whore. She is a war whore. She is putting out a fake sex tape to get everybody to come watch it, using sex to sell war crime and mass murder. And I think she should be boycotted. What a disgusting pig. I find her to be uglier than sin. Because I see the witch she is. Just the shallow scumbag doing a fake sex tape to lure shallow idiots in to support her. Let me tell you something, honey cakes. You may get a bunch of power out of the evil, authoritarian, fake left Hollywood for what you've done, but everyone who's a thinking person hates your guts. And I will never go see a movie you're in. You are disgusting. You are a filthy piece of trash. You have the blood of all these dead children on your hands now. You are sick. You are a sick freak. People are like, oh, how dare you be so mean to her? She's supporting an open invasion. The globalists killed over 1 million Iraqis off that lie. Now we're going to exterminate everybody in Syria? We're supposed to get behind this type of stuff? But here's the good news. Reuters, 9% approval rating. 9% approval rating. You don't have the mind of the people anymore. The spirit of liberty is spreading. The Paul Reveres of our age are out there warning people everywhere. Pat Buchanan, Matt Drudge, Rand Paul, Ron Paul, Ted Cruz, Alex Jones, God bless him, Glenn Beck, God bless him, Rush Limbaugh. Michael Savage is coming out saying this looks staged. Good. 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 They're speaking out against the crazy neocons that are cheerleading for Obama. Good. Because let me tell you, folks, this is evil. And if the globalists can get away with this, they can get away with anything. They can get away with taking our liberties, starting a fake civil war here in America against us. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Infowars.com and my crew, people need to understand, the globalists know who the tip of the spear is. I don't want credit because it's dangerous. The enemy knows who is at the tip of the spear. We are at the very center of this shockwave. We are the bullet, the uranium bullet that they fire into the plutonium ball. Many hydrogen weapons don't just detonate. Some of the smaller tactical weapons don't detonate with a jacket of high explosives, blasting the uranium or plutonium, depending on what the weapon is, into the core. Some of the surefire systems that don't have as high a yield are a uranium or vice versa plutonium bullet fired into the heart of a larger mass of uranium or plutonium. And I'm telling you, the globalists know this. That's why I'm telling you this. Infowars.com and yours truly are the bullet fired into the chain reaction. And let me tell you, the chain reaction, in the course of history, months and even years are like milliseconds. My trajectory of 18 years and your trajectory aiding us, all of us together, this audience, we are the bullet. The silver bullet fired directly into the heart of the weapon. And chain reaction was reached 2 weeks ago. God. I mean, I can feel the angel of death's wings flapping above me, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you that right now, and I've never been so alive. I can tell you that right now. I mean, this is it. This is history, ladies and gentlemen. The chain reaction has begun. We're going to come back, go directly to your calls until about 45 after, so then I'll get to the Paul Watson's piece with Milano that's up on Infowars.com and Prisonplanet.com to show what a pig this woman is. I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I hate Kerry. I hate Obama. I hate John McCain. And then now, these ugly old vampires can't sell the war. So and maybe she's a useful idiot and really believes Obama's bull. I know some high-powered Hollywood people that have wanted, to talk to me before because they go, you deprogrammed me on Obama. It's not Charlie Sheen, knew him way before Obama. I just can't believe that this is all true. Oh, I believe. They're like little kids, like he's a movie star to them. And they're all enamored in all this. So maybe I'll say, I mean all those things I said and don't take them back if she consciously did this. But still, she's a dangerous, shallow, stupid woman. We'll be right back. Just in case you missed it, we played this last hour. Here is Obama back in August of last year saying that he had set a red line clearly, and then now he's saying he never said that. So here's both those clips.
We have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus. That would change my equation. First of all, I didn't set a red line. The world set a red line.
There you go. So there he is a few days ago. He didn't set a red line. Now, here's the bottom line if you just joined us. I believe this is a total collapse of confidence in them. I don't believe that. I know that. It is seismic. It is historical. It is ground shaking. The empire will strike back. The question now to listeners, all the way into the next hour when Larry Pratt joins us at the bottom of the hour with some key Second Amendment updates. The big $64 trillion question here is, what are they going to do to haul their bacon? Will they launch an attack out of Syria or give medium-range missiles to rebels they fire at Israel to then blame on Assad? Will they launch another chemical attack? They've done it at least 3 times now and been caught. That's now mainstream news. Will they attack a Super Bowl and say Assad did it? Will they attack and say Patriots did it to get a diversion going? Will they set off a small nuke? Will they release a bioweapon and say it's some new SARS deal? I mean, let me tell you something. Their whole agenda, everybody's starting to speak out against them. And so they know that makes it safer for other people too. And more whistleblowers and everything they fear. And the NRA suing the NSA for secret anti-gun databases, gun owner databases. And everybody starts waking up and everybody gets past their fear. It's over for them, folks. It's Ceausescu type stuff, like in Romania. If you don't know about the fall of Ceausescu, look it up. It's fall of the Soviet Union. I've been saying for 2 weeks, folks, this is like the fall of the Soviet Union. Now, it may not happen this month or even next year, but let me tell you, all the king's horses and all the king's men are not going to be able to put the New World Order back together again. The egg fell off. It hit. The cracks are all in it. The yolk's starting to drip out. It's falling apart right now. They're not putting it back together again. They're not going to be able to do it. I've looked at every angle. They are in deep trouble. They are in deep trouble. And I'm telling you, the talking points you see everywhere are our talking points because we just go with the truth and what's really happening. And the fact that we're at the core of this resistance is so historical. And it's incredibly dangerous. So as I said, please pray for us. Because history is happening right now. And this is another testament to what good men can do standing up to tyranny and what good women can do. And I want to salute our audience, our affiliates, our sponsors, everyone that's helped us. You're all part of this. In fact, you can enjoy being part of it, and it's not a dangerous position as people like I am in, or Rand Paul are in, or Matt Drudge is in, or Pat Buchanan is in. The system does not like leaders who are not evil and who cannot be bought. So I want you to understand the playing field here. If we didn't do all that to get Rand Paul in, if we didn't do all the things we've done, we would have nobody up there to point out the discrepancies. Let's go to one call and we're going to break. Eric in New York, what do you think about a false flag? Do you think confidence is collapsing in the establishment?
Hey, Alex. Yeah, man, I definitely think so. And I just wanted to raise one question, man. I want to know who's going to take over Syria after the Obama administration gets Assad out, because they haven't really explained.
They're going to give the North and the South to al-Qaeda. And then they're going to break up one of the areas to the Kurds there in the East. and they're going to give part of it to Turkey. I mean, they want up to 5 parts, a minimum of 2. It'll probably end up being broken in 3, and they will exterminate Christians from end to end. And it'll never, and they'll maybe have Hollywood will maybe have a celebration on TV or something about it. I don't know.
Oh, okay. And what do you think about Pakistan and India? What there are 2.
Oh yeah, that could be the trigger. And again, I'm not on the side of India or Pakistan. I'm on the side of all those people that live in those countries, those humans that are genetically pretty much the same people. The West is trying to get India to start stuff with Pakistan continually. So yeah, that could be a big flashpoint. Boom. They've moved the big fleets to Asia. Exactly. When the Middle East sets off, watch what happens in Asia. Absolutely. That's what our high-level sources have been saying for about 4 years. Very well said, Eric. Great point. Yeah, you never know what card they're going to pull, but they're going to pull something. Probably be another chemical attack in Syria. Tom, Steve, Chris, others, your call straight ahead. By the way, as we reported 2 days ago, the Chinese have been shifting fighter aircraft to their western side of the nation. The Russians have been massing in the last month troops all along their border near Syria and moving, obviously, other weapon systems into the area. And the news of India is reporting Pakistani jets leave for war games in China. Getting into what the last caller was bringing up, they could try to start a war over there as a political diversion. This is what corrupt governments and empires do. They start wars. And then if that war's not going good, they start another war. That is historically the pattern. And if you look at the pattern, it's very serious. And now Pelosi says they don't think they have the Democratic votes. No kidding. You don't have the Republican votes now. I saw an article yesterday. What was it out of? The Hill? Where they had 498 phone calls at one congressperson's home district office. 498 calls to 2. In fact, I actually have the article on my phone. Let me see here. I'll actually pull up that article itself so I can tell the crew about it and actually get them to pull it up. Just absolutely amazing that things like that are going on, and you've got unprecedented resistance to what these tyrants are up to, and they trot out movie stars like Milano to say it's for the children, let's attack Syria, when the West started this war for 2.5 years. I mean, that's what's so rich about this, is that the system engineered this, started it, and then grandstand as the saviors, and then Kerry and Obama both say, if anything else bad happens, it's those of you that don't let us bomb the country, it's your fault. And they've only gotten away with this because people weren't paying attention. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Folks are now paying attention big time. WorldNet Daily is now reporting on it. I saw this last night. Now it's calls to Congress 499-1 against the Syria war. Americans are slamming at least 22 members of Congress with thousands of phone calls and emails urging lawmakers not to approve a military strike on Syria by a margin of as much as 499-1 as the national debate rages on Twitter. Representative Jim McDermott of Washington tweeted, calls and emails from my constituents are 100-1 against getting involved in Syria. The American people are speaking. Elijah Cummings said 99% of the calls to his office. Andy Harris says constituents are 523-4. And how they do that is they go through a roster of 20 members of Congress and how many calls they're getting for versus against. And it's 499-1 is what the math comes out to. So that means there'll probably be a strike then. If it's 499-1, see, that's an awakening right there. But I think this is so massive now that the House will vote and it'll be 50 or more against it. They'll lose by 50 or more votes, maybe even 100. This is a landslide against them. And I think they're going to stage something and say, well, I have to do it. I'm a leader. And then the media will go, he went against it as part of being a leader. Give him another peace prize to bring peace to Syria. That's what he said. He said, well, I got the peace prize. Didn't say I deserved it, but, you know, being in for true peace is stopping violence and evil when it pops up occasionally. I played that clip last hour. I mean, here's evil really popping up on the podium. I mean, this is it, dressed to the nines. This is evil. Everything it does, pure evil. This agenda. Here's its front man, its figurehead, its masthead, its logo. Obama, the trendy. Hi. All right, I just had to go to your calls. I'm hogging the airtime here. Tom in New York, do you think this is a major defeat for him? Do you agree with that? A, and B, more importantly, do you think they're going to stage something to pose as our saviors?
No, actually, I believe there's too much light being, shine on the, the issue, and I think they're going to back off on it, at least immediately. Might try to wait a month or two and then start something else. But, I was listening to the debate yesterday with Kerry and Obama. They were talking about the 1925 treaty, and I was wondering if you've ever heard of the incident in somewhere in the late 90s with all the countries that are now pushing for a war over there, where they had launched their own chemical attacks against Al-Qaeda in Saudi Arabia. I think a couple of books have been written about the incident. Al-Qaeda was poised to take over in Saudi Arabia, uprising in the late 90s, and the only way they were able to break it up was with French special forces going in there with chemical weapons, which they, apparently succeeded in wiping out Al-Qaeda. But
yes, I was aware of those developments. And look, the Sunshine Project in 1999, based in Austin, Texas, was able to get a declassified Marine Corps document that was then reclassified. The Sunshine Project was threatened. You can pull these up still on Google Wayback Machine, though, or the Google Archive. I don't know why the Marine Corps threatened them, because they didn't even get it off the Google system. And we've done reports on this. And I had the director of the Sunshine Project on at the time. We should get them back on. It's now defunct, but the government shut it down. It was kind of like a proto-WikiLeaks. But this was declassified. They reclassified it and said it was improperly classified, that they have a program with helicopters pre-positioned around the U.S. with opiate knockout gases that they estimate will kill more than 10% of the population, because you'll have car wrecks, fires. They fly over and spray you with this stuff, and it knocks everybody out. But beyond that they have chemical weapons, if those don't work. And people ask, how's the government going to defeat us? How's Homeland Security? If we were ever really about to take D.C. back or take Colorado Springs back from the New World Order, they will nerve gas us. I mean, that is the plan. The nerve gas is for us. And this is stuff where it doesn't matter if you have a gas mask, whatever, you're dead. And that's why they're so arrogant. But the military would probably say no to doing that. That's why they'll use foreigners or contractors. But even beyond that, they want to go to drones, because the drone won't refuse orders. So, yes, sir, I am familiar with what you're bringing up. I appreciate your call, Tom. Again, I want to hear from listeners. What do you think they may stage? That's what I said, is what Tom said. If the globalists are smart, they'll back off, leave this alone, and then try it again later. But that's not how they've been operating. But they may pull back and wait and stage something down the road. Oh, Assad did chemicals again. Come on, we got to do something. Steve in Florida, you're on the air. What do you think's going on?
Yeah, hi, Alex. Okay, a few things here. First of all, I was thinking back to your bombshell documentary, The Obama Deception. If you remember, Tarpley had mentioned about the big new Brzezinski, one of Obama's chief advisors, and his inbred hatred for Russia. And so, Obama was having military outposts and such set up around Russia, And so, first of all, I'm thinking that, this deal with Syria, this is a little fish that they're going after. Yeah, it's part of what Pastor, I can't remember the pastor's name.
Lindsey Williams.
That talked about what his globalist men had, Mr. X and Ken Flem had said. It's following out what basically they've said about the Middle East. But what I'm saying is that these globalists, they have a bigger fish to fry, and that's Russia. And the other thing is, if people want a good insight into the mindset of these globalists, I'd really highly recommend, and I don't know if you've gotten to interview these people, Alex, Kathy O'Brien's and Mark Phillips' bombshell book, The Transformation of America.
Yeah, just to answer your question, I have interviewed them. I don't think they can prove their story one way or the other, so I don't go there. But we know the types of things they talk about do go on. That's been declassified. I appreciate your call. There's Dr. Ewing Cameron and Jolly and West and the MK Ultra hearings and foster kids grabbed and electroshocked and reprogrammed and soldiers. The stuff you see in the Bourne movies, that's basically real. In fact, they even have the viruses they inject you with that are designed to reprogram certain areas of the brain, to eat certain areas of the brain that basically are there as a governor. So a guy that can only bench press 300 pounds, the governor's gone, they can now bench press 600 pounds. The governor's gone, you can now walk, 100 miles, whereas before you could only, walk 50 miles. That newborn movie, it doesn't have Matt Damon in it, it has the other guy. The guy from Hurt Locker. I went and saw it. I'm like, this is like real. Just unbelievable, based on the Ludlum books, but modernized. I got to see that movie again. Just unbelievable how accurate it is. That's exactly the kind of stuff going on. So if I'm going to do a mind control show, I'll do it not on people that claim they were under it. No offense to them. It's just like wallowing in all the admissions. We're drowning in thousands of admissions, and the scientists that would run it would then have sex with the kids, and that all came out. It's just a bunch of perverts. And brain chips in people in the 60s. Aldous Huxley, before he died, admitted that they already had silicon chips in people's brains before those were supposedly even invented. Ladies and gentlemen, they're 30 years beyond what we even know. That's why they're so arrogant. That's why they act like they're not humans, because they're like advanced next-level civilization psychopaths that hoarded all the technology and got it, and now they've got like space-based weapons platforms and bioweapons that kill 100% of the people and public stuff that kills 98% and fission fusion bombs and black hole bombs and antimatter bombs. You go read the literature they've got. It's just like, only God can save us at this point. But God wants us to act against the evil, like in the fiery furnace or in the lion's den. That's when God then gives the providence. You've got to have the courage and say, I stand against the evil. Then God activates. That's historical, ladies and gentlemen. You don't believe in God, the force of the universe. It's there, okay? And you've got to say, I'm doing the right thing, come hook or crook. I'm not backing down. This is it. I'm all in. I'm committed. And man, when you do that, the world just goes, it opens up. And you're like, wow. That's when the universe opens up. And the globalists are just focused on their little evil system to control. Of course, any of us who are smart could go be evil and be incredibly successful being bad. But you're committing a crime against your own progeny, against yourself. It's these elite groups that think their families will be sheltered from all the stuff they've done. It's not going to happen. Again, I want to ask the listeners this question right now. I know we got loaded phone lines here. What do you think the false flag will be to change the subject, or do you think they won't do it? And yes, of course, this is about Russia. Not that Russia's perfect. It's just a bloc not fully controlled by the dominant globalist. But it's not just Syria being a little fish, though. This could start nuclear war. Do I have to walk through it again, folks? Syria gets attacked. Syria attacks Israel. Iran attacks Israel. Israel responds. This is on the low end of damage. The Strait of Hormuz is blocked by 30 or 40 sunken ships they've got ready. Tankers. The forces that go in and unclog it are attacked. All hell breaks loose on the Suez Canal by Egypt and Israel. The Gaza stuff starts up. Everybody starts attacking. Radical groups use the excuse to. It's like when there's bank robbers will start a fire on one end of town to go rob the bank on the other end. All the crazies who are really controlled by no one, they're just allowed in. The jihadis will go crazy in Saudi Arabia. And the globalists plan to just sit back and let this conflagration start going and then use that as the political distraction to do whatever they want. U.S. forces are massing in the Middle East right now. So they've pulled them out of Afghanistan and Iraq to a great extent to get them ready in Jordan and Israel and other areas. U.S. troops have been massing in Turkey. They've been massing for months. They've got missile cruisers, nuke subs, B-1 bombers, B-2 bombers, aircraft carriers. Diego Garcia loaded with nuclear weapons, just on, National Guard on alert, nukes getting moved around. Wrath of God type stuff. Cats and dogs living together, as they say in Ghostbusters, but it's not funny. It's not funny, and maybe it won't happen. I hope it doesn't. And then if it doesn't, we'll go, I thought there was going to be a nuclear war, Alex. No, there could be. Chris in Iowa, what's your view on all this, sir?
Yeah, I've just got an observation that I think really much applies to what's going on, and I wanted your advice with something serious. As far as I grew up in a college town, Iowa City, University of Iowa. Last 3, 4, maybe even 5 years, I've noticed there's tons and tons of Asian people moving in, and I really like Asian people, so I keep an eye out. But then just last year, I noticed one. He totally looked military. Had a silver star, a gold ring around it on a beret, and he was just walking through. Looked like he was reconning the place. And like you were saying, that the globalists pretty much run or own the colleges. And if they were going to do like an invasion, like I've been seeing on the internet and stuff, wouldn't that be the way to do it?
What they do is they get us into a bigger war, then they start blowing stuff up domestically, and then claim that the Patriot movement's working with the foreign enemy. And then they order the SWAT teams, go out and, pick up this first list of people, kill them if they resist. They'll have another list. They send in mercs to be killed. And it'll be lots of people that work for the system. It'll be lots of people that serve them, but who know where the bodies are buried, or old scores. And you'll see suddenly you'll see new news anchors on a lot of the shows. The globalists will probably, they'll kill, if they actually go with that plan, which is in the cards, I don't know if they're going to do it, they will kill large percentages of people you see on television in a day. They will wipe out many members of the establishment who think they're part of the establishment. That's because the establishment's always really targeting the establishment first. Then they'll try to wipe out people like Alex Jones. We'll hear Ron Paul, had a stroke or whatever, and he'll and there was a fire at his house. Stuff like that. That's how they do it. They'll send stormtroopers out, Night of the Long Knives, to kill everybody. Does that answer your question?
Well, kind of. It was more or less, it kind of looks like there would be an inside job as far as letting China invade. But like they've been kind of slowly doing it over the years was more or less what it kind of looked like to me. Well,
Americans have been so fluoridated and brainwashed, a lot of them don't know how to run equipment. So, they bring in folks from China because they work hard and are smart. But the globalists have a double deal with China. They have given them the Panama Canal. And yes, China is the retreat route for the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, George Soros, and others. If you go up to Infowars.com, we've got an article written with the full text of what Putin said. He said Kerry's lies are pathetic and that Kerry's a liar. Russia says it's sending warships to Med for evacuations from Syria. A new breaking story just up on Infowars.com. EPA SWAT team raids gold miners in Alaska. Yeah, they'll make sure nothing gets produced in the U.S. Paramilitary task force reminding miners not to put too much mud in the water, but radiation's fine. Again, China sending warships to coast of Syria. Russia warns of nuke disaster if Syria attack. That's all up on Infowars.com and our mirror backup site, Prisonplanet.com. Briefly, before I go back to your calls, I'm not mad at the callers. They're all bringing up really good points. But nobody's calling in to really tell me what they think a false flag could be to change the subject. I know the globalists and how they operate. This is probably what they're going to do. And we should be having a discussion about this. They don't need Chinese troops to come occupy America. China's got thousands of riots a week. Their people hate the tyranny. They've got paramilitary, police, and military here that are trying to take on the American people. We better reach out to them and wake them up to what's happening, instead of worrying about Chinese invasions of the U.S. And yeah, there's Chinese troops in Mexico. And yeah, the globalists have given China the infrastructure, so America, they don't want any one country to be sovereign and be on top. They want the bankers above it all sucking everybody dry. That's the point I'm trying to get here. It's not you're either for or against Israel, or you're either for or against England, or you're for or against China. It's globalists above that manipulating it. And I said I'd get into this movie star out there pushing tyranny and how sexy it is in a fake sex tape to attack Syria. We'll get to that. I want to go back to your calls briefly here, folks. If you're not a Prisonplanet.tv member, the nightly news, 7 o'clock every night with myself and the reporters. And tonight, I think we're going to have a live, expanded, not just 30-minute show, but it's going to be expanded coverage of just the collapse of confidence in the globalist and where we all see that going. Expanded interviews, 7 o'clock every weeknight, higher quality podcast of the daytime show, all my films and so much more. If you're not a Prisonplanet.tv member, become one today. And if you are a member, share your username and passcode. 11 people simultaneously can be logged on to the same username and passcode. Obviously, don't give away your passcode if it's to other things. Make a unique, original passcode just to Prisonplanet.tv. That doesn't give them access to any of your other information on there, just to be able to log in. And with a username and passcode, they can go in there and they can watch the nightly news, see all the films, you name it. Say, hey, here's your gift membership to Prisonplanet.tv. Or buy a bunch of memberships and give them to people. And that also supports what we're doing. And then it all gets put at one point or other on YouTube and other channels. Problem is they're censoring us so much, it's good to have our own platform. So become a Prisonplanet.tv member today. Also, I keep hammering this. The number one thing you can do for your own family and yourself, and your family really deserves it, is to stop drinking the tap water. And a lot of water filters out there just cut out some of the bacteria and some of the toxins. The Pro Pure with the Pro One systems, the glyphosate, the hydrofluorosilicic acid, the calcium fluoride, the sodium fluoride, and hundreds of things. It cuts it down to almost zero. Some things to zero, some things to non-detectable levels. Stainless steel units, the best against all the competition. It annihilates them. InfoWarsStore.com. Promo code WATER gets you 10% off the already incredibly low price for the lowest price available anywhere. InfoWarsStore.com. Or call toll-free 888-253-3139. And if you haven't started filtering your water for yourself and your family, you're insane. You're going to get a lot of other toxins out there, but the water is 70% of the body. It's so important. And as General Jack T. Ripper said, got to protect our precious bodily fluids.
You are listening to GC.
Another big question I can throw out to the listeners on Syria. You've got thousands of military personnel coming out, some of them that are getting ready to come on the show publicly, and saying, we're not going to fight for al-Qaeda in Syria. People we fought. What's going to happen when they implode Syria, go ahead with a strike, and then go, oh my goodness, the chemical weapons are in danger that are legally and lawfully there. We've got to send in 75,000 troops. The Pentagon wants. I wonder how our military is going to like going in, fighting side by side with Al-Qaeda flags, and then turning it over to them. I guess the military, instead of following orders, they'll just commit suicide. Why? Why not speak out and make the New World Order's life a living hell politically instead of blowing your head off? I mean, I guess they find people that follow orders. So you kill yourselves for Obama? How about you make their life a living hell politically? How about you work 18 hours a day against them instead of shoving a gun in your mouth and blowing your brains out? I don't think you're cowards, folks, but I think that's the wrong way out. Why don't you realize you've been conned and been working for evil, as I know a lot of you do, and that you're gonna work hard against all that now and make it better. You've had an abortion, admit it was wrong, go out and speak out and try to educate people, tell them about adoption programs that are out there for people that are having babies. There's a line around the block to get babies. Black, white, it doesn't matter. They don't want anybody knowing that. You're some guy, your girlfriend had an abortion, so you think it's okay instead of admitting you're wrong. Admit you're wrong about it. And then as soon as you've repented and admitted you're wrong, the weight comes off your shoulders. That's all God wants you to do. And if you don't believe in God, that's all your subconscious wants to do. It's all your brain wants you to do, is to admit it was wrong. It's saying evil's good that's bad, folks. You need to try to not be bad. And by admitting you've done bad, you'll grow in courage and wanting to be a good person. I'm not just talking to the military here, obviously, but I mean, you know, you're going to commit suicide. A lot of you have wives and children because you're so freaked out about all the horrible things you've done. How about you do? Look, we're saved by grace, folks, but faith without works is dead. How about you go make amends for all the things you've done? Don't just punch out of this world. That's the easy way out. Maybe instead of killing yourself, maybe you're going to fight the New World Order. Maybe you're going to end up in prison for a decade. Set up, maybe tortured. So that's what God wants, is for you to really give yourself over to the fight for the innocents. That's what God's looking for. Not the easy way out with a cold steel shoved in your mouth, splattering your brains all over the wall. That's the easy way out. Why don't you commit to turning it around, what you've done, and showing humanity, showing your family, showing everybody what a real warrior for liberty and truth does. I predict massive suicides over this when they try to, because if they go ahead with this, they're going to put brutes on the ground. They're already there advising them. That's why a lot of them are committing suicide. You have a lot of special forces committing suicide because they just get so freaked out, their whole world. The government runs Al-Qaeda. We're shipping drugs into America. You know, they hear stories from their buddies about little kids being loaded on C-130s out of Central Europe. And they're just like, well, the government runs kids, government runs drugs. They go back to their barracks, shove a gun in their mouth, blow their head off. Because of the culture shock that you work for Satan. Well, just admit you work for Satan and don't work for Satan anymore. Come back, work for the Republican America. Join George Washington and everybody that came after him, who weren't perfect men but had providence. We're going to come back and go to Gene. Then we're going to go to Chris, Dan, Hubo, D, and others. And to get your take on, do you think they'll stage a false flag? What's going to happen when the military, they try to put them in there with Al-Qaeda publicly? Do we give Al-Qaeda a peace prize? Do we posthumously give Osama bin Laden a Congressional Medal of Honor? By the way, he was decorated as Tim Osmond at the CIA headquarters on record in 1988. So I guess I made a joke about it, but it's not a joke. All right, we're now well into the third hour, going back to your phone calls. Larry Pratt's coming up with a quick update on all these extrajudicial gun confiscations going on outside of law, and how law recently passed, the Vetter Amendment, states that that's illegal. And we'll also get his take on the whole situation in Syria and what that means to the world. By the way, for the average authoritarian yuppie out there that thinks they're liberal, you know, as long as they're wearing a trendy superhero shirt or something, oil prices will explode if there's a war over there. It will undoubtedly, in every major study they had out even last week, that this will increase civilian casualties. It's about wrecking another sovereign nation. Saudi Arabia wants control of the country. They're offering to pay for it. Saudi Arabia took it over in 1918 before. And this is just nothing but a bunch of power grabbing. And elements of Israel are supporting this as well, because they want to go after Iran supporters, but then now they're aiding Al-Qaeda. It is totally immoral and is extremely evil. And you've got Chinese ships going into the region now. Russian is sending more ships. I mean, this is really escalating fast, okay? And they wouldn't have moved B-1 and B-2 bombers into the theater with nukes. And we know the jet aircraft left the last 2 weeks unless they were planning something big. Now, we may be able to back them off. But you got all the U.S. military saying we're not going to aid boots on the ground going into that country. So what's going to happen? Because the plan is to implode the country. Kerry said, oh, but if it imploded, we'd have to invade with boots on the ground. That's always been the plan. Because then they're going to double-cross Al-Qaeda and only give them part of the country. And then our troops will be fighting them. I mean, this is so sick. This is so Machiavelli. And it's not being done for some greater good. That's even a lie. It'd be bad enough if we claimed, well, it's for the greater good. We've made the calculation. No, it's done to bring in evil. It's done to give al-Qaeda a new stronghold to then menace the West, and the politicians think we're dumb and won't put two and two together and go, oh, give my rights up because of al-Qaeda, when they're the ones running them. And it's a political diversion from all the scandals that the French government has and the U.S. government has. Notice, the more scandal-ridden a government is, the more they're for this. Because the French president, Obama, all these guys are just puppets. So they're also cheerleading for it because they're being told this will haul your butt out of the fire. I mean, that's not denied. They have all these Congress people saying that. You've got Chris Matthews saying that yesterday. This is outrageous. That's why I'm so angry. You think I'd be happy that everything we've talked about is now being admitted for credibility issues. I could care less about credibility. I care about having a future. It makes it worse that it's all admitted. It's just ridiculous how out in the open this all is. I need to stop ranting. Let me just calm down. Oh, I come in here and try to be calm sometimes. I just... Kerry saying it's our fault if anybody gets killed now when they started this whole thing. I mean, it's not an act, by the way, when I'm doing this on air. I cannot be angry anymore. I have been so angry. I'm so angry that I'm just really having trouble doing this radio show. And I'm having trouble working on Obama Deception 2. I'm having trouble messing with all the other little side issues that go on around here, because it's like all these people, not my crew, but just the general public, are just going on about their business, talking about the NFL and stuff, and it's like the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket. These are the type of things that happen before a world war. Before World War I, before World War II, all the different sides are lining up, all the same. I've studied so much history, and that's why all the other historians are freaking out, because, folks, it's in the air, okay? I mean, horrible stuff's in the air. And the good news is people sense that, not just intellectually, but people sense it. So everybody's, they're having 500 to 1 phone calls, 498 to 2 phone calls. These Congress people are marking this down. You've got 500 to 1? 500 to 1. 500 to 1. Against all this. Now, scroll down more in the article to the 500 to 1. There it is, 523 to 4. Oh, man. All right, I said I'd go to your calls. I want your take on all this. Gene in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Okay. First, Alex, I do believe there's a definite possibility of another false flag. But isn't it possible, too, that we've already had the false flag? And I think this may be the real thing here, that they will do this and strike Damascus, and Damascus to be leveled.
Yeah, I mean, my gut tells me they're going to pull something like another chemical, or they'll launch a missile out of Syria and say Assad did it and hit Israel.
Well, do you remember how you were saying that you feel in your gut something's going to happen on 9/11? I'm with you on that. I definitely think something is going to happen on 9/11. And also, because of that, 9/11 is considered to be the first day of creation according to the Hebrew calendar, the Hebrews and the Egyptian Coptics. So everything. Yeah,
we had callers asking why 9/11 is such a big day for the New World Order. You're right, and that's why they chose 9/11. As you call the government, it helps you. You've got the 2 towers. They're the 2 pillars. It gets into Babylon, Mystery Religion, Egyptian stuff. I don't get into all that because I don't think our new listeners can handle all that. But go ahead.
Oh, well, don't you? I think it's about time our new listeners start, because I don't think we're going to have a choice here pretty soon. The satanic side is definitely rearing its ugly head. And when you can see all of this, how 9/11 is showing up over and over and over, I do believe you're right about something happening on 9/11. If you take Oklahoma City, you take and you add the date, when you're through with it, that comes to 11.
Well, I mean, number one, look at April 19th, April 20th is like high holy days and satanic rituals. And yeah, look at all the stuff that's happened on April 19th. I mean, over and over. And yeah, there's certain dates in history, and even historians admit that, where big things happen. Look, I'm just saying, look at how Benghazi happened on 9/11.
Here's a couple of things that I think you and your listeners might find interesting. What I just said, Oklahoma City, the date, it adds up to 11. The date on Waco adds up to 9. Okay, so we have two major events there that are pointing towards 9/11. The Gulf oil spill, when you add up the date, you have 9, and you had 11 lives lost. So I think we're definitely going on to something here. And another thing I wanted to add to you, you were talking about Fukushima nuclear earlier. Here in the United States, we have a plant. It's called Palo Verde, and it's out in Arizona. We have 3 reactors there. There is no water source except for the wastewater from Phoenix. And this whole thing is considered to be on the 33rd degree parallel. And I'm sure I don't have to tell you about the 33rd degree parallel, but as far as everybody else out there, there is a lot happening on the 33rd degree parallel. Damascus is on the 33rd degree parallel. Beirut is on the
Absolutely. The globalists admit they build their cities on these key parallels. And it doesn't mean it's even real. They believe in it. Believe me, I've been to Bohemian Grove. They believe in it. Thank you for the call. I snuck into Bohemian Grove, the only press reporter in modern times. There's been a few employees that got video out of it. And by the way, I wouldn't advise employees to shoot video. We've learned that anybody that signs an agreement with them and then releases video gets set up and put in prison. Well, I've known 2 people that's happened to. The globals have weird rules. I was able to sneak in, get out, the only reporter to ever do it. They broke into our mail 3 times to steal it when it was going to the media. I got some death threats, but I was okay because I didn't make any agreements before I snuck in there. In fact, if you notice, whenever I confront the presidential advisor to 5 administrations, David Gergen, saw him at the RNC, talked to him. He said, "You made an agreement not to talk about that." I went, "No, I didn't." He goes, "Oh, you're the one that crashed it." And he gets so angry, and that whole fake act of being a nice guy leaves him. Oh, it doesn't even matter. I don't want to get off all into it. The point is that I was there with the initiates as they watched it, and they took it deadly serious. I mean, these old men were literally crazed while they did the mock effigy of burning a child. Let's go to Chris in New York. Chris, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. I wanted to basically pass by you an article that I saw that said FEMA is preparing for a major event in Region 3 on the East Coast. And this article from the Sleuth Journal is basically talking about how UN peacekeepers began training the 4th week of July and will complete their 9-week training by October 1st. And there's 386,000 troops. The center.
Yes, sir. We get calls every day about this. It's all true. They're having a massive martial law drill running through October 1st on the East Coast. And people keep asking me, is it real? It's in, let's not exaggerate, 20 newspapers. Yes, they are doing a massive takeover drill on the East Coast right now.
It also says the Center of Disease Control ordered $11 million worth of antibiotics going to FEMA Region 3 on October 1st. It's also saying that there's going to be National Guard riot police. There's going to be DHS. It seems like they might be planning something on the East Coast for the end of this month. Absolutely.
You know what? We got Larry Pratt coming up for about this segment, a little bit of the next, but I'm going to come back to you. Stay there. In fact, I keep meaning to cover this more. I've been covering it for months, but print me a bunch of articles on that FEMA Region 3 drill. Absolutely. They're using the drill to establish martial law. All right, he's with us till about 45 after, then I'll go back to your calls. He's Larry Pratt, the director of Gun Owners of America. And I wanted to get him on in the last week or so. I've seen more and more mainstream news articles where they're raiding legal and lawful gun owners because their neighbor sees their gun in the garage or them putting it in their car, and they just take them. Or they just show up in California and take somebody's gun saying they're semi-auto, they're illegal, even though the person bought them legally and lawfully at a gun show. I mean, it's being done under federal grants. And I know that a law was passed and signed by George W. Bush, something positive we could say, because of pressure, because of the gun confiscations in Katrina, in New Orleans. And I know that Gun Owners of America spearheaded getting that amendment passed. So I wanted to get Larry to tell us about that law that no one seems to know about, because we get the calls every day, people having their guns taken. We get sent the information. The police won't say why they're taken. This is really illegal. And I wanted to then find out from Larry exactly where all this is going. So we're getting him on ISDN. He just dropped off. When we get him back on, we will go to Larry Pratt. Let's go ahead and talk to Chris in New York. Chris, what's your take on false flags and what may be staged?
Well, like I was saying earlier, there definitely seems like FEMA is preparing for something, maybe MERS coronavirus outbreak or something like that. And it definitely seems like, they're going to use this false flag as a distraction from Syria so that they can go ahead with their plans there. It seems like the globalists are very set on attacking Syria, Iran, and the rest of them over there. So it definitely seems like another false flag's coming. Also, on an unrelated note, it's becoming harder and harder to buy ammo in New York State. A friend of mine basically has a 9mm carbine that was bought perfectly legally, and now when he goes to buy 9mm ammo, they tell him that he has to show a police ID or a permit.
Well, that's right. All over the country, that's why I want to get Larry Pratt on. By fiat, they're not selling you ammo, or they're putting down your license, or the feds are visiting people that buy even 500 rounds of ammo. It's all to create the perception you're criminal. You're bad. That's how authoritarianism begins. Gold mines are getting raided without warrants, and then they go, well, we just came in black uniforms and armored vehicles just to talk to you. You're not against us talking to you, are you? That's in the news today. And people are like, well, what's with the armored vehicles and stuff? What, do you got a problem with that? I mean, it's all about just being occupied and also getting all their goons basically accustomed to all of that. So, yes, but I will dig up the news articles on that later in the next segment and get into the FEMA region 3 mass drills that are taking place on the West Coast. And, yeah, they're announcing riot police, National Guard, preparing for a disaster, and they're calling it a drill, but they've never had drills like this. They've had little mini drills where they'll shut down a highway or run a checkpoint and then tell people it's real. But just more and more, it's the acclimation. That's what all the military drills are about. And again, a lot of this is about foreign military operations. Because, again, they'll use the foreign military operation to bring in the crisis to then say, you can't ask questions here while this is happening. And then they can get their gun confiscation through. Then they can have the bank holiday and the bail-in where you got to pay money to Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan and Bank of America and Wells Fargo. This has all been done in other areas over and over and over again. This is how tyrants, not just the globalists here, but communists in the past and fascists and other authoritarians, they use wars and domestic crises to do this, because then you're in control of everything. The globalists just don't want to take over the other sovereign nations that are left. I'm not saying Iran's good or Syria's good. I don't like any of these big governments. They're all out of control. But it's the globalists that are here in America that are taking all of my rights. It's the globalists that are here in America that are taking all of my liberties. It's the globalists here that are assaulting the family and assaulting homeschoolers and assaulting us with GMO and assaulting us with all these other things. That's what's going on. That's what's happening here. And as a culture, as a society, we need to realize we're occupied by the New World Order. And they're very bad people, and they want to make us poor by design so that we can be controlled as a permanent peasant class. All right, I'll come back with more calls. Looks like we're not going to have Larry on. Technical difficulties. He goes all over these shows, doesn't have problems. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live, and we do have Larry Pratt, head of Gun Owners of America, gunowners.org, on the ISDN line with us to talk about the law that no one seems to know about, saying the feds or local police cannot confiscate your guns without a warrant or without specifics. But all over the country, they're taking legal, lawful guns. We see the articles every 2 days or so where somebody puts a gun in their car to go to the shooting range, a neighbor sees it, cops come, the gun's legal, they still take it. I had 2 people walking to me this week on the street who have property outside Austin. In one case, it's 100 acres. They're shooting, totally legal. The cops came and said, it's still an aggressive display, still frighten people, terroristic, hearing the gunshots. We're taking your guns, you're going to jail. That's in Texas, folks. You can't shoot on a 100-acre farm, okay? I mean, in the middle of nowhere, windmills, the police are coming. So it's all part of this intimidation under federal grants of gun owners, and I wanted people to know about the legal teeth that Larry Pratt and Gun Owners of America helped get in place. What was it, 5 years ago? How long ago did that law get passed, sir?
It was following Hurricane Katrina, and Louisiana was ground zero for gun confiscation. And precisely the time when people needed their guns the most, the cops were coming around to take them. And the problem is they knew where the guns were. They knew who had the guns because they'd gone to the gun stores, compiled the list from the purchase records that are required to be kept by the federal government unconstitutionally, and they knew exactly where to go to make their surgical strikes. Now, as a result of that, David Vitter, senator from Louisiana, got enacted a law that keeps the federales from doing that. And a couple of states also did the same. After a disaster, you cannot go and grab people's guns. But let's look at a couple of things. It means that whether they have a centralized registry or not, and I would argue they do, but whether they do or not, effectively, there is a gun registry. All it takes is a little extra shoe leather, and they can go to the various gun stores of an area, and they'll have a list of almost everybody that has a gun, unless somebody bought a gun or got a gun as a gift from dad or a neighbor or something like that. It's going to be a matter of record. And that's why we fought so hard against the Toomey bill, because it was going to expand to private transactions the requirement that a background check be done. And after the NSA scandal has broken, I don't think too many people are going to doubt, they're not going to suspect that I'm paranoid by maintaining that, of course, the federal government has illegally kept a record of gun owners. Alex, if they want to know what you're saying to Aunt Susie on the telephone, don't you think they might want a list of the guns even more?
Well, it's Gun Owners of America, of course, that's helped push the NRA, as even folks on our show have talked about who are NRA board members. It has been Gun Owners of America, as Ted Nugent has said, that has helped push the NRA to be more hardcore. What do you make of the Hill article today? NRA joins ACL lawsuit, claims NSA starting gun registry. Well, it came out that the DEA has access to it, along with 2,000 corporations. They're all spying on us.
They're all spying on us, and it is just so absolutely out of control that we've got to get the House to act. The House can do something that would be effective. The House was given by the founders, this body that's elected every 2 years and therefore hopefully is the closest to the people. They can simply say none of these funds may be used for, and then fill in the blank. Now, what we're most concerned about at the very moment is that by the end of the month, there will have to be a continuing resolution passed by the Congress. This will continue the funding of the Congress pretty much at the level of the previous fiscal year. But the fight has to be made over defunding Obamacare. The Republicans in the House have to originate a continuing resolution that specifically defunds the implementation and operation of Obamacare. If they do that, the Senate may or may not concur, and the president might veto the bill if the Senate did concur. But here's the deal. That would mean that the government would no longer be able to operate by borrowing. They could only operate on what tax revenues are coming in. Well, that's 57% of what they are spending. In other words, they borrow 43% every day, every month, throughout the year. The government would certainly not stop operating. The Social Security checks, which are mechanized, digitized anyway, could continue going out without probably the presence of a human being, because it's all programmed in computers. So some of those so-called essential functions of the federal government would not be affected. Only if somebody as diabolical as our president were to issue an order saying, we don't have the money to run the electricity for the computers that are generating the Social Security checks, so therefore they're not going to be able to go out. Does that sound preposterous? Well, think of some of the other things the president has done. When given a choice, he'll kick you right where it hurts the worst. So we think that the fight has to be made. The Republicans have to realize that some of their leaders have been peddling a lie, starting with John Boehner. They say, well, remember what happened in 1995 when we shut the government down under Clinton. Well, once again, the government didn't shut down. It slowed down. And yes, I do remember what happened. I was here, and I remember that the polls were in favor of the Republicans until Gingrich went wobbly and started to cave in.
And of course, he's an establishment CFR guy. He played that perfectly and then betrayed the contract. Absolutely. But the climate today is even more hardcore.
Yes.
I want to shift gears now with you, Larry Pratt, head of Gunners of America, if you just joined us, to the geopolitical. I know you've traveled the world and have been involved advising Congress on events for decades. And now the world is waking up to what you and I have been talking about for 2.5 years. Our government under Obama, at Benghazi a year ago, September 11th, but before that, funding al-Qaeda to overthrow Libya, trying to overthrow Syria, trying to overthrow our ally, Mubarak in Egypt. Now the military speaking out. Now you've got Ted Cruz saying, our military is not the Air Force for al-Qaeda. That's a quote.
That's a very good phrase, by the way. That is really spot on what's happening.
Absolutely. So now that you've got Ron Paul, now that you've got Pat Buchanan, now that you've got Matt Drudge coming out, I've never seen real conservatives, libertarian types, really shine like this. I'm very proud. The warmongering left, of course, loves it. But now you've even got Pelosi saying the left's turning against him. Obama admits, Slimeball, Matthews admits that this is to haul his butt out of the fire. So they're not even denying it. And the flip-flopping of it's a red line, we never said red line, or we don't need boots on the ground. Yes, we do.
And if the Republicans cave on this is something where the polls I've seen, 80% of our fellow Americans think it's nuts to go into Syria. We have no discernible national interest in that country whatsoever. Yeah, it's horrible what's happening, but just as bad as the government is behaving to its enemies, so the al-Qaeda opposition is behaving to the government.
Oh, they're clearly worse.
It's all terrible. And but you're right. The al-Qaeda guys are worse. They're more aggressive. Assad is happy to just butcher his own people. He's not looking for foreign conquest. He's not a threat to the United States. Why in the world are we bothering him? Why? Well, I knew the answer to my question. It's because the president has uniformly supported the worst of the worst every chance he got. Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood over Mubarak. Same thing in Tunisia. And now we're seeing it played out again in Syria. The guy is not naive. The guy is not incompetent. He's doing exactly what he intends to do, which is to diminish the ability of the United States to operate in the world scene and to pull us down many pegs.
I really know that what you're saying is true now, and I was even in doubt of this a few years ago, because why would the establishment allow America to be so damaged? They're globalists. They want to move everything to China. They want to move it more towards the EU. They're shutting down our power plants, our gold mines. Everything they do is to wreck America. They really do hate America, and even if they run it, they'll run it in the ground to get at Middle America and the bitter clingers. But let me bring this up to you, Larry Pratt. Let me ask you this question. I see this as a collapse, though, that you have the left and right coming together against this war. Some polls, like Reuters, 9% support the war. Congress is saying they're getting 500 to 2, 500 to 1 calls against the war versus pro. And nobody's believing Obama, and now his support's draining in Congress. I see this as almost a Ceausescu moment.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet because we've got Democrats saying, well, yes, I know my folks are against it, but I've got to go with my president on this one. In other words, his reputation, bailing him out of his own muck, is more important to them so far than what the people are saying back home. Now, I've never seen numbers like the ones you just pointed to. 500 to 2 is stunning. That means there's hardly anybody in the country with a brain that thinks we ought to be in Syria. And if they go in anyway, and if the Republicans like Boehner, who I think is compromised, and that's why he folds like a suit, I could go into that too if we have time, I think he's going to fold on this. And the question will be, how many in the caucus that almost revolted against him when he was reelected, how many of them are going to say, that's it, John, we're not going with you?
Well, they're already admitting they don't have the votes. Let me give you the headlines. It's Weekly Standard first broke it yesterday. Now, more numbers are out WorldNet Daily. We have the latest in about 30 minutes going up on Infowars.com. There's more info out. Congress, calls to Congress, 499 to 1 against Syrian wars, the WorldNet Daily headline. Then they have the press releases by 20 members of Congress about the calls they're getting, 100 to 1, 99 to 1, 523 to 4. Because they keep a tally, 1,000 calls to my office, 5 are for the war. That's Republican out of West Virginia, Shelby. This is what they're saying. Republican and Democrats, they're getting 100 to 1, 125 to 1. It's 99+% against it, Larry.
So if the Congress supports the president on this, I think that gives us a wonderful opportunity to see people like Bevin, who's running against McConnell, really pick up. He's got money. He's a wealthy businessman, and he's got the Tea Party endorsement. They all coalesced behind him, which is uncommonly smart for people on our side. Kudos to the people in Kentucky. You've got 3 substantial conservatives running against Lindsey Grahamnesty. There might be other conservative challengers now come out against these pathetic Republicans and take them on in the primaries.
Well, that was my next question. You've got a really, I'm not kissing your hind end, it's just true for folks that are just now tuning in. Larry Pratt's got his ear really to the ground there in D.C. The word I get and what I see happening is actually a libertarian revolution taking over the Republican Party. All the stars are real libertarians. All the stars are anti-fraudulent war. All the stars are pro-Constitution, pro-gun. The old Republicans are running. The others are compromised, as you said, clearly with blackmail and NSA garbage. The NRA's growing backbone. I mean, I see a American revolution happening that'll make what Barry Goldwater tried to do look tame.
And also, there's a lot of conservative people of faith, primarily evangelicals, but also Catholics and Jews, who are really, I think, more stirred up than they were in 2010. Hey, we sent you guys there to fix the problem, and it sure kind of looks like you're part of the problem now yourself.
Well said. In closing, Larry Pratt, what do you expect to happen in 2014 currently, unless Obama gets a big war, which will up the Democratic Party's ratings, they believe. I don't think that's going to work this time. But, I think we're going to see a Tea Party surge in the House. What do you see?
I think so. And if the Republicans support the president, there's going to be primary action galore, I think. If they vote for a continuing resolution that refunds Obamacare, I think that would stoke the fires even more, because this is a real, absolutely valid opportunity to kill Obamacare by the end of the month, to put in that continuing resolution, no funds to be used for Obamacare in any way, period, paragraph. And if they don't do those two things, which are absolutely red hot button issues, then I think some of these incumbents are in for some rude surprises.
Well said, Larry Pratt. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Last 60-second comment. The Examiner out of Washington is carrying this story. D.C. cops under orders to arrest tourists with empty bullet casings. You can buy in 7-Eleven, you know, the necklace that's an empty bullet casing. And they've been given the order to harass and grab as many visitors as they can. D.C. won't let little kids videotape the Capitol. I've been to there. What's wrong with the D.C. police? They're like something out of North Korea.
Well, they have a woman, I'm pretty sure, liberal police chief. And, you know, it starts from the top. The council hires the kind of chief they want, and she's very politically correct. And I don't know that this really reflects the way many of the officers feel, but they will be told to follow orders if they want to continue working there.
So if you're wearing a bullet casing around your neck or it's on your key ring, the cop's going to follow orders and take you to jail for something that's been thrown out at the Supreme Court, even if it was a real bullet. I mean, I mean, it's incredible.
It's incredible. Well, let me invite folks to go to gunowners.org. We'll keep them posted from there with our alerts. They're free, come about once a week, so it's not going to clutter up the inbox at gunowners.org.
God bless you. We'll talk to you again soon, Larry Pratt.
Thanks so much, Alex.
All right, there goes Larry Pratt. I'm going to come back and go right to your phone calls. Habu and others that are patiently holding on the other side of this quick break, and I've got some other news I haven't hit yet as well. By the way, I want to tell you about efoodsdirect.com/Alex. You can find their free shipping special that they're running only for a little bit longer here, and they've got that special running right now where you can still get the free shipping. They got a whole list of the specials you can get. They got a lot of specialty foods as well with all this craziness going on. You need to go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex or give them a call at 800-409-5633, 800-409-5633, or again, efoodsdirect.com/Alex, or follow the banners at Infowars.com to get those amazing discounts on super high quality, storable foods. And you can also, again, give them a call, 800-409-5633. Now, of course, the nightly news will be on tonight with an extended roundtable discussion with Dr. Jerome Corsi with breaking bombshell news. It is bombshell. That's coming up tonight, 7 o'clock Central, for InfoWars Nightly News viewers. Prisonplanet.tv is the website. Look, they've had a lot of continuity of government drills before. It's been going on since the 40s, when the Cold War started up in about 47. Some say it started when the atomic bombs got dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. But now when they have these drills, I've been to them. We've had reporters on that have been to them. I mean, these aren't drills. They set up checkpoints. They search everybody. And this is a multi-state FEMA Region 3. What is that? 5 states? 5 states? And the New York Times says his worries over the power grid rise. Yeah, because they're turning off so many of our power plants. I love how they always, we don't know why the power grid is going on all the time. A drill will simulate a knockout blow. And all the big power commissions told them, you turn off hundreds of power plants, we're going to have blackouts, people are going to go bankrupt. So now they go, we've got to have a martial law drill because of the power grid. As the electric grid, as government and private experts describe it, is the glass jaw of American industry. That's why they spend all their time sabotaging it. If an adversary lands a knockout blow, the globalists that run us, this is the adversary telling us about themselves, they fear it could black out vast areas of the continent for weeks, interrupting, that could be the false flag, folks, interrupt supplies of water, gasoline, diesel fuel, and fresh food, shut down communications and create disruptions on a scale that was only hinted at by Hurricane Sandy and the attacks of 9/11. That's why thousands of utility workers, business executives, that's InfraGard, National Guard officers, FBI anti-terrorism experts, and other officials from government agencies in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, they're going to be there helping, are preparing for an emergency drill in November that runs right into October that will simulate physical attacks and cyber attacks that could take down large sections of the power grid. And they're actually putting cybersecurity in to shut all this down so they can. And this is probably just a test of how to shut us down. That's on record. The globalists put a grid in to take over all the radio, TV, shut down all the power plants, shut down all the private power plants, all the city-owned power plants, This is the occupation force, and now they're going, oh, we're checking for saboteurs. Well, they're the saboteurs. And you can go to the NERC, North American Electric Reliability Corporation report on part of this grid. They're going to have riot police out, checkpoints all over the East Coast, all the way into West Virginia. So be sure and enjoy that. Callers were asking if it's real. We get emails, calls every couple minutes, basically, here at the office about this. And you know what? I'll do a whole report tomorrow, sometime in the 3 hours, on this drill. And probably nothing's going to happen. The point is that this is a takeover drill, just like everything else is. So we'll... and by the way, we told you they were putting all this in place. We told you 13 years ago that they were going to be breaking over the cell phones and breaking over the AM and FM stations. I was shown and shot video of restricted manuals that are in my Police State 2, the Takeover film, by the engineer for a group of radio stations here locally. He's now dead, but I still won't say his name. Oh, I'll just say it, Kevin Stone. Anyways, and he gave me, it wasn't even in confidence. Then he said, later you can talk about this, but not right now. When I retire, you can. And I was able to see all these documents about how they were going to take over everything. I mean, these weren't just the EAS manuals. These were how in the future government's going to take over the ad spaces, directly programming. All these engineers were all freaked out about it in the meetings he was with at the Texas Association of Broadcasters. They all know about it. They all know what's happening. They all know what's going on. So I'll just go ahead and give you the source. He's been dead like 5 years. He's a really nice guy. Patriot. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? Death comes to us all, doesn't it? I'm going to go into overdrive a little bit, go to Habu and Bruce and Craig and Corey and Brad, whoever I can get to. But Nightly News, a special extended broadcast tonight, 7 o'clock with Dr. Jerome Corsi. Prisonplanet.tv. Become a member now. We need your support. Share your membership with people. It's a great way to wake folks up. Operation Awaken the Sleeping Giant. Introducing Pro One. All right, folks, into overdrive. Habu in Wisconsin. Thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Yeah, well, Alex Jones, thank you so much. Just a comment about you, and I'm not sucking up. You've been one guy, the one person in this country who's been so stentorian in your views against this whole false flag operation. Your analysis has been trenchant and thorough, and it is because of your unstinting commitment to the truth. And I think and people better listen to you. I know you have a great audience around the world, but what you do is really in the interest of humanity. And thank you. Just a quick point, please. I hope we can apply a full court press and emphasize that this is a false flag. And if this is a nation that talks about democracy ad nauseum, then are they going to listen to the overwhelming number of people who are against this?
How big a deal do you think it is to have 500 to 1 people calling Congress against this? I mean, that tells me America is actually waking up.
Well, it's going to boil over if these politicians don't listen to us. And the one area you've also really excelled in is appealing to the armed services people. When they start showing those placards, and as those numbers swell, then we've reached the tipping point, my friend.
I agree with you. And then they've got these movie star women out there pushing the war, trying to use sex to sell war. It's so sick.
Well, I shan't take any more of your time. Thank you so much for the courtesy, and you are a great human being first and a great American.
Well, you're very sweet, sir, but I just want to survive. And half the time I'm just burnt out and exhausted and it's unlistenable. But you know what? I'm trying to tell the truth. And so if God's with us, who can be against us? I think it comes down to that in the final equation. Let's talk to Bruce in Canada. Bruce, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hi, Alex. How are you today?
Pretty good, bud.
Good. Just a couple of comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first one's on Syria with U.S. There with China announcing that bringing ships in.
Yeah, your phone's cutting out all of a sudden. Just go ahead and make your point quick. China bringing troops in, I think you said.
Yeah, bringing ships in there from China for Russia. I was watching one of the videos went back.
That's a cordless phone, isn't it?
A cordless phone, Alex. Yes, it is.
I know the sound of them. They're worse than cell phones unless you're right near the deal. But you've been on hold a while, so I guess you walked away from the... How many hundreds of yards are you away from the base?
Give me 1 second, and I'm going to get closer to that thing.
There you go. We're going to get him on air one way or another, folks. I've learned the sound of a cordless phone that's 100 yards away.
Okay, well, how's that?
It's good. Go ahead now.
All right. My quick question is...
I give up, brother. I wanted to hear your question, but it isn't working. Oh, boy. Real quick question or comment. Craig in California, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Alex. Yeah, I had a quick comment about the term false flag itself and how it seems to be breaking into the mainstream media a bit and how important I think that is. I mean, the reason I think it's important is when I first heard about you in 2005, you were talking about that a lot, and you were explaining what it is. It's a military tactic, CIA tactic, and we're citing references about how that has had been the case, how these have been pulled off historically. The other day I heard Dennis Kucinich actually use the word itself when he was asked about what happened in Syria, and he actually used the term false flag.
Ron Paul's using it. Pat Buchanan's using it. Rush calls it frame up. Dan Badandi, folks, got it out at the Boston bombing. God bless you, callers. I'm sorry we're out of time. Back tonight, 7 o'clock Central.